Hey, good morning and happy Friday. I just wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone who has shared, liked, and supported my page for Ethera and the Island of Evisara. I'm so humbled and grateful by all of the positive encouragement that I've received as well as the feedback. So I just wanted to share with you, I have a proof of the Kindle edition of my book, and as soon as it's available, I will post the link. But I thought that I might share with you a small part of the story so that you could get sort of an idea of what it's about and get to know the character Hailey a little bit. 5:20 a.m. I was anchored somewhere in the middle of the bay. I was also moments away from being able to turn off the lights and finally figure out where the heck I was. I wasn't lost, just a tad confused. 15 minutes after leaving the dock, I realized I should have paid a bit more attention every morning with my dad at the wheel. Normally, I'm readying the poles, checking the lines, and watching the sunrise. Sometimes I count the buoys along the canal, or check the fishing reports on my phone. I've done my time behind the wheel or at the trolling motor, but mostly during the day. It's a little harder to see first thing in the morning, and without knowing exactly where I was going, every swell and every pelican became a reef. My imagination became my enemy, and I slowed to a hesitant crawl. Finally, I gave up and decided to wait until I could see better. I continued to watch in every direction, terrified that another boat would run up on me and I wouldn't be able to pull up the anchor in time. But after a while, I became aware of every sound and feeling around me. I relaxed and let myself enjoy the peace of the moment before I set out again. The rushing around this morning had left me frenzied to get going. I really didn't care if I caught anything on the trip today. I just wanted to be out on the boat by myself for once. The next time I took her out, I would pick a better day. I listened and looked up at the sky, watching the small stars that lit the graying canvas overhead through the small breaks that were left in the clouds. I could hear water lapping to my left, so I knew I was near shore. The popping noises of mullets jumping out of the water for no reason dotted the silence. Earlier I could hear rather than see the soft puff of breath from a pod of dolphins that passed by. The distant rumble of thunder to the south was still too far away to see the lightning from which it originated, but it made my nerves buzz. Time passed, and slowly my surroundings became clearer, my eyes taking in the lumen and adjusting to the growing light. The water lapping to my left was a sandbar, revealed by the low tide next to a small island barely big enough to stand on. I could see the mullet jumping out of the water ahead of me and a deep swath of seagrass just ahead. I noticed the gentleness of the waves, and I hoped they stayed that way. When I tossed the anchor from the bow earlier, I was still facing south. Now I could see the rope leading into the water. I realized that the tide had actually swung the boat around a quarter turn to leave me facing a bit more east. Anxious to get back underway, I pulled in the anchor and stowed it under one of the front two compartments of the boat. The compass on the top of the console glowed a muted green. I oriented myself to north and started the engine, pulling the boat around to the south with a slight west heading. I thought about just turning on the GPS, but I felt sure of where I was going, and I wanted to prove to myself that I could, from memory. If I did get lost, I would turn it on, but until then I wouldn't bother. Plus, I still hadn't decided against stretching the boundaries of where I told my dad I would go. And the minute I turned on the GPS, he would know exactly where I was. I wanted to feel free a little while longer. Through the morning, I had felt the wind beginning to rise, which I knew would happen at some point. But until it started to get worse, I wouldn't bother being concerned. This was nothing. Slowly, I pushed the throttle down again and opened up the engine a bit more, trimming the motor up and down until the deck planed out and I flew across the water again. Up until a certain point, the faster you move on water, the smoother the ride, kind of like driving fast over a bumpy road. I really wanted to feel the power of the boat in my own hands, see the landmarks fly by as I raced over the water, and make it to where I wanted to go before I was forced to turn back. I couldn't be sure yet, but the clouds looked to be building slightly, taking on a more distinct shape, whereas before it was mostly just overcast. So that's a bit of the book and how Hailey's journey starts. And you've read a brief synopsis of kind of what comes next and what to expect. So please, if you wouldn't mind, share, like the page, and that way when the book is available for publishing, then I will post that link on the page. So thank you so much again for all of the kind comments and the amazing support and encouragement. It is truly appreciated. And thank you all for taking this journey with me. Have a happy Friday and a great weekend.